What are some really bad common life choices? Staying in a bad situation because you are afraid of changing it. The comfort zone is deadly. Fear of the unknown. The devil you know. One of the silver linings for me in COVID was that the lockdown forced me to actually spend time with my ex, and it helped me realize that we didn't really have much of a relationship. I'd been comfortable for years thinking I had a cool SO that let me do my thing with my friends, and she had her friends, and we had our own independence and hobbies, but then when we had to spend time together, it was pretty clear that was actually masking that we weren't really a good fit. While I'm sorry you had to realize this in time, the way you wrote the response makes it seem as though things ended amicably. Amicably is a stretch, lol, but we're good now. I think I had my epiphany first, and it was a surprise to her when I ended things, but I don't think I was wrong, and I think we're both better off now. I still see her in friend groups sometimes. How did the realization unfold? I'm curious because your previous comment about having independent lives masking how there was no relationship hit close to home. I'm looking for signs and doubts and wouldn't want to make a decision I regret, but yes, I'm living the separate lives thing. Try to see if you can introduce more shared activities first. Also, different people want different things. I know a couple that wants to be quite independent, meanwhile I would consider it a sign of growing distant. That's an excellent point you made. I could never stay in my marriage if I didn't have autonomy and independence. I can't do that joined at the hip and up my ass nightmare, lol. The difference is we do have genuine love and friendship and can talk about everything under the sun, and do enjoy the time we spend together. But my biggest nightmare would be one of those marriages where both names have to be listed on the FB account, or if when we wanted to do something or buy something, we had to do a spouse check. Ugh. But I've been very, very independent and headstrong since early childhood, just my nature. I'm 60, too late to expect to change. My SO and I do everything together and have a very combined life, but never even thought of a shared FB page or spouse checks, lol. That's pretty drastic. Credit cards are the worst place to borrow money. 25% interest? What a joke. Well, there's two types of borrowers. If I ask you to borrow $100 for gas because I forgot my wallet, but I have more than enough cash at home to immediately pay you back when I get there, that's fine. That's how credit cards should be used. If I ask you to borrow $100 for gas because I don't have any money at all, and I won't be able to pay you back until I get my next paycheck, and even then only after paying back all the other people I borrowed from before you, that's not good. That's unfortunately how most people use credit cards though. Even in the second case, it is a good use of credit cards. Sometimes there are small financial bumps, and being able to use a credit card so you can get gas and still go to work is very good and saves people from a lot worse fates, not being able to get gas to get to work, losing jobs, becoming homeless, etc. The problem is using credit cards, or any loan. Car loans these days are something else. To try to live above your means. Definitely. It's great if you don't have the money up front, but will at your next paycheck. You can borrow money for up to 30 days, interest-free. The pandemic did something to my brain and made me addicted to impulse spending. My card originally had a $2,000 limit, but they kept increasing it over and over and over until before I knew it, I was $10,000 in debt. For me, as someone who has been generally responsible my entire life, I was blown away. I'm the safe person. Drove a crappy paid-off car, bought a house in low cost of living area. But IDK, what happened? Suddenly I wanted to buy things I didn't even need because I desperately needed a dopamine hit. Finally, I sought out therapy and it helped, but I'm concerned my brain is irrevocably damaged at this point. It's extremely hard to tell myself no to something. I've tried everything. Wait and see if you still want it in 2 weeks. Do you really need this, etc. It's hard to explain to people that there's no rational thought to be had when my brain wants something. I have OCD and will obsess and obsess and obsess until I finally let myself have it. With therapy and some serious work, I've gotten better, but I fear it's a demon I will be fighting for the rest of my life now. In the end, the 10K in CC debt was destroying me, financially. I remember that during an extra paycheck month, 3 pay periods, I put my entire paycheck towards my CC bill, and then next month, the interest absolutely chucked that money into the ether and I was back where I started. That was when I realized how people get caught in a cycle of debt. CC are designed to stick you in a debt loop you cannot get out of. I finally said EFF it and used money from my 401k to pay it off. Maybe a poor idea, but it was the only way I figured I could get out from under that massive debt. Currently, things around my home are tight due to some emergency bills, needed a new car, somehow had an insurance issue and owe $700 for my therapy, etc., but I'm surviving. I know once these emergency things are gone, the belt will loosen, and it will get better. I still have my CC for the sake of my credit score, but I only let my YouTube Premium and identity theft subscriptions charge to it monthly and pay it off by the end of the month. People will say it until their faces turn blue, but that is the only responsible way to have and use a credit card. If you can't pay it off every month, do not even think about using it. Not getting enough sleep. I wish I had a choice. You get stressed about not sleeping and then that causes you to sleep less, which causes even more stress. I would kill for 8 consistent hours every night. My choices are sleep a full 8 hours or spend some downtime doing things I enjoy instead of just work/chores during my awake time. Doesn't feel like much of a choice when one option leads to depression and the other sleep deprivation. I can't fall asleep before midnight no matter what I do, and I have to be up at 6:15 a.m. every weekday for work. My entire adult life I've been told that my circadian rhythm would eventually shift to accommodate my work schedule, and it hasn't happened. This was a problem when I was in my early 20s, before cell phones, laptops, and tablets existed, and long before I ever owned a television, and it's a problem now at age 44. I just can't fall asleep early enough to get 8 hours of rest. Note, I allow myself just one caffeinated beverage at 7 a.m. I'm not continuing to caffeinate throughout the day. I teach a class on interview training and soft skills development. Getting enough sleep is a key point in the class. Unfortunately, this is a big ask for a lot of people. Someone working 3 jobs while caring for family isn't going to have enough time for 7 to 8 hours sleep nightly. That's a harsh reality of life these days. I tell them to do the best they can, even if it means 4 hours of sleep a night followed by an hour nap between their second and third job. But far too often we do this to ourselves by playing with our phones at night. Neglecting relationships, failing to invest time and effort in maintaining relationships with family, friends, or partners, which can lead to loneliness and a lack of support. And separation. My wife and I are splitting up, and a huge part of it was that I didn't invest enough time into us and building our relationship. Getting married isn't the end of building, it's really just the beginning. One of my biggest regrets in life is failing to recognize that. When I got married, somebody gave me excellent advice: never stop dating your wife. Speaking generally, men often have the conqueror's mindset where once we secure the girl we move on to the next thing, subconsciously putting the marriage in the done category. I now see any relationship as never done, just hopefully continually improving. It's funny you phrase it like that because that's honest to God the phrase that used to go through my head. Don't stop dating her. Don't stop trying. Don't stop trying to be a romantic. I fell into my depression like a bottomless pit and have only started being medicated the last 6 months or so. I think that's a big part of it. You can't be there for your partner if you can't be there for yourself. Either way, it's my fault, and that sucks to deal with. I don't think it's fair to blame yourself either. Depression is evil in that it's no one's fault, but it greatly affects the victim and all their loved ones. I don't blame someone that's depressed the same way I don't blame someone with cancer. I'm genuinely happy to hear that you have found a way to suppress its symptoms, and here's to a bright future. Thinking that a threesome or a baby will fix a bad relationship. Or buying a house. Got it. When in doubt, buy a baby. From the other person in a threesome. One of my friends basically played bad relationship decision bingo and got a full house. Rocky relationship? Let's move in together. Rocky relationship? Let's buy a house together. Rocky relationship? Let's have a baby. Rocky relationship? Let's have a baby. Rocky relationship? Let's have a baby. Then it's not too bad, I'll stay, when his home life was clearly toxic as fuck. Only when things were utterly intolerable did he finally move out. His kids are going to be fucked up when it comes to future relationships. ETA, oh god, I forgot the mid-high five-figure destination Caribbean wedding. I think they only just finished paying that off. That hurts to see. Poor kids. Failing to invest in yourself. Whether it be learning new skills, exercise, therapy, or simply experiencing new things. This is me, and I can tell ya, makes for a shitty life. I love exercise, I'm creative and like learning new things, love adventure. But unable to get help for my mental health, so I don't take care of myself, I don't do anything. I just exist. I am miserable, but the misery that I am used to is easier to handle than the stress of seeking help. This is me. I can't find a therapist that works for me, and I've been told it's going to be at least a year before I can see a psychiatrist and get a more formal diagnosis so I can begin to understand what medications and tools I need to use to make my life bearable. It sucks. Having children with no means to support them. I've learned from having kids there are 3 things you need: money, support network, and flexible working. If you have 2 of the 3 you can do it, but if you only have one of those things it better be money. This is so real. We don't have much money, but we've always had great support and have been able to have lots of flexibility with our work schedules. Because of that, we've always been able to make it work. Everyone has what they need, and has a little of what they want as well. Definitely, we're halfway in all 3 categories and make it work, but I won't hesitate to say my life was objectively easier before I had my son. Please like and subscribe for more daily content.